Right. All the buttons have been clicked, and I think everything is as it should be. A great big welcome to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I assume you can all hear me okay. If you can't, just give me a shout, put your hand up. Tonight, we're just going to have fun. We're going to have loads of fun talking about AI, looking at all sorts of viewpoints, all sorts of expertise, and we really want you to be engaged. Interrupt, give us your questions, just be a part of this. So welcome to those watching on Facebook. If you do decide you want to jump on and get involved in the conversation, I'll pop the link in the chat in a bit. And if you've joined us here on Zoom, welcome. It's lovely to have you. So to get started, one last little thing, I have to share the live link in the group. Okay, so to get started, I'm going to introduce you to our amazing experts. We have Daniel Engelbrechtsen. I know I didn't say that right.
You got it.
And you know, Daniel and I, we've done a few of these events together, and I always have my mind blown, so I know you will too. So welcome, Daniel. We have Lisa, and I'm not going to attempt your last name. I do apologize. When you introduce yourself, you can say it correctly. Then we have Chris. I'm going to stick to first names now, and Lisa. And so these are our experts. They all have fantastic knowledge and experience, all from a slightly different background, and they're going to be sharing it tonight. And so we are promised a lively discussion. So Daniel, I'm going to hand over to you to kickstart the introductions, if that's okay.
Sure. Well, you got my name right, so thanks. I'm Daniel Engelbrechtsen. I'm happy to be here. I guess in my spare time, I teach at a couple of universities, generative AI courses, mostly focused on helping the rising generation master the skills for the new workforce. And in my day job, I spend a lot of time talking about AI and helping people work through their digital transformation efforts. So I'm happy to be here and sharing what I know and being part of the panel.
Thanks so much. And Lisa?
Lisa, right? Lisa. Yes, I am Lisa Sargiato, coming from Las Vegas, Nevada. I have a very diverse background in a lot of walks of marketing life as well as operations. I would say that my passion lies in people and process. So facilitating digital transformation or digital maturity within organizations has really been my sweet spot. And as Gen AI has gone more mainstream, it's just unlocked so much more within myself and also how I can better help others and serve others. So I'm very excited about talking about it today.
Fantastic. Chris?
Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Black. I am generally based in Denver, but currently dialing in from Virginia. I'm a marketing and operations specialist as well, usually focused on early stage tech startups. So I'm deeply technical. I come up through the IT ranks, having started at engineering companies more on that technical side. So I'm coming at this with usually a deeper technical knowledge than most marketers or operations folks. My passion has always been with the latest technologies. How can we use this? What do we need to think about and watch out for? Making sure that we're using them ethically, that we're using them safely. But I'm always excited about the latest bits and pieces, and so excited to be here and share some of my expertise with you.
Thank you. And Lisa?
Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Adams, and I'm based in Denver, Colorado. And I'm a B2B tech executive, have had about 2 decades in B2B tech. And I'm an AI advisor and fractional CMO. I'm deeply passionate about elevating the strategic value of marketing, diversity and inclusion, especially in the world of AI. If AI is supposed to benefit all of humanity, we need to have diverse voices at the table. And then lastly, I'm also very passionate about using business as a force for good. So
Fantastic.
Happy to be here.
Thank you. And my name is Angela De Souza. I'm the founder and CEO of Women's Business Club. And my interest and passion in AI is really how we can use it to reach as many women as possible across the world in their own language, in their own currency, making sure that we can make a difference. We started back in 2012 here in the UK. And with a small little group of 12 women, And from there, we've grown nationally. And obviously, since lockdown, we've gone internationally because everybody was online. So we thought, why not give it a go? And so now really feeling like we want to be a global brand, you know, supporting as many women as we can in their business or their career, all the way from startup, all the way through to exit and everything in between. But we want to learn how to utilize AI as best we can so that we can actually facilitate this in not only their own language, but in their own culture. And so really learn about what's relevant to women in the challenges that they're facing, not just us in the UK telling the world how to do business. And so that's why we want to learn. That's why we're passionate about using AI, but at the same time, always having a human available. So, but we're going to delve into that side of things soon. But that's a little bit about how Women's Business Club fits into this conversation. And also just, you know, and automation and marketing and whatnot, you know, it's just fantastic for that, isn't it? So let's get started with the conversation. We have a great question here from Chris that we thought we would kickstart the debate on. And what are the 5 things, or no, not 5, what things should we be talking about that no one else is talking about yet? And so I think this is a great question to get started. So Chris, especially since you brought that question, do you want to, you knew I was going to do that, kickstart the conversation with that? Because that's really...
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of things to think about, but there's certain things we don't tend to talk about. And I'd like to touch on 2 of them. And the first is really from a business perspective and a social perspective. We talk a lot about the great things that AI are bringing us, but there are things that we have to do as businesses, as societies and our families that, you know, how are we going to retrain? How are we going to bring people along? How are we going to embrace this socially? How are our businesses going to be ready for any reskilling? What's it mean to us economically? And these are big, big questions. And I think overall, when we're thinking about politics, when we're thinking about larger companies, I don't think we're talking enough about the ramifications and the possibilities. If we think about what the technologists are saying of what's going to be possible, you know, whether it's a year, whether it's a couple of years, this is fast. And even if they're halfway there, this has big ramifications for our businesses, and we should be talking about that. The second thing I'd like us to think about and have, again, as a big question that we're not going to solve amongst us is the environmental impacts of this. So every 5 prompts equals a bottle of water and cooling today. Now that may go up, that may go down, depending on what we talk about. This is not a green technology, and we're using this like toilet paper, right? We're using prompts, we're doing great things. The innovations that we can do, the way we extend ourselves is amazing, but this has environmental costs, and we need to figure out how we want to deal with that.
Thanks for that link there, Lisa. Lisa just popped a link in the chat. I think that looks like some good reading. Wow, that's fascinating. Guys, don't be on mute, you know, interrupt each other and just go for it, because I'm not going to be asking each one to share their opinion. Just chat.
Okay. Yeah, to also build off that of, you know, how this is going to change and impact businesses and how we're going to reskill. I've been thinking a lot about just how we're going to redefine the workforce, and also just redefine things like what productivity means and what efficiency means. And there's always been this focus when it comes to productivity of and efficiency of speed and quantity. And I mean, quality is just, to me, it's always been the thing. And now it is, to me, one of the most important things. And when we're talking just about how our teams function and how we function, AI is going to change that. And I sense the lens is just adding a layer of how we have worked traditionally. And even though we have switched more to, you know, remote environments or hybrid environments, you know, there's still that underlying 9 to 5 mentality and not thinking about when we are the most creative or how we can better enable our teams to be more creative when we have meetings, when we don't have meetings. But the advances in AI are going to open that up to just completely rethink the workforce and how we structure our companies. And to start to get ahead of that now, of realigning, even your mission, vision, and values, are taking a look at your values and your vision, and how do you see your business operating and how you operate with your teams and what you want your teams to be. To be happening at the
Oh, I think you're breaking up there. Is it just me?
No, it was breaking up a bit.
Oh,
sorry. It was just one sentence, Lisa. Don't worry. We heard everything else. Just your last sentence.
well,
no pressure.
Well,
no, but we got the gist of it. We got the gist of it. Absolutely.
So playing off of that then, and kind of honing in on the upskilling and the people side of this, we'll come back around to the tech and the green side of this, Chris, but on the people side and the upskill side, seeing this through a couple of lenses just to kind of stir the pot a bit. I first got really hard into Gen AI because my kids, who were at the time like 5 and 7, I saw their world changing, and by the time they got through school, it was going to be a different workforce, and they're not going to get taught this in school. They're a couple of years older now, and so just thinking about the implications for the rising generation, and fast forward a bit to the undergrads that I teach on a day-to-day basis, and the number one question I get is, how's this going to impact my work? And I have students asking me, do I need to change my career field because of generative AI? So there's a lot of angst across the board on what does that mean, and how are these jobs changing, and a lot of ambiguity around that. So just thought I'd throw that into our conversation here.
Yeah, I so appreciate Chris's bringing up this bigger challenge that I think is in front of us of societal impacts. I think about a tipping point where at some point the risks to humanity outweigh the benefits to humanity. So I kind of look at a chart that looks like this, right? And I think right now the benefits probably outweigh the risks to humanity, because we are finding ways to be more productive, finding ways to be more efficient and maybe even better quality. But at some point, with the advances in technology, new innovation, there could be potential risks that outweigh the benefits. So what would happen if, let's say, we find cures for cancer or potentially reverse climate change, but we have mass unemployment? What are those trade-offs, right? We're now looking at the 5 stages of AI innovation from OpenAI, where they say it's level 1 is chatbots, level 2 is reasoners, or AI that can problem solve at the same level or beyond human level capabilities. Level 3 is AI agents, where AI is now doing things on our behalf autonomously. Level 4 is where we get into innovators, where AI can now invent things. And then level 5 is organization, where it can now do the work of organizations. And some are predicting the rise of billion-dollar companies with only 1 or 2 people.
Wow.
So at that point, we begin to think about, if that truly becomes reality, what will the mass, many of us do in that situation? I think about, will there be enough people with enough buying power to buy from these billion-dollar companies, right? So our world, I believe, is just, it's a world of balance. It's an ecosystem, just like we've got 8 billion people and 1,000 gorillas. Like there's an issue there because we've infringed on their habitats, right? We've got climate change. There's an imbalance there. We have the imbalance and the big gap between the rich and the poor. What happens when AI begins to shine the light on those imbalances. So I think the notion, to decrease the risks to humanity, things like regulation, things like responsible use of AI, ethical use of AI, upskilling and reskilling people, making personal choices. Some of these choices that we need to make are very personal for very specific use cases. I think many of those things need to come to the forefront. I believe that big AI companies are rushing to create the next big technology or focusing on innovation. It is more on us to really figure out how to apply and best use it responsibly and ethically.
Yeah.
And so to take a stab at that in the near term, one of the things I tell my students who are graduating into the workforce is yesterday's entry-level job is tomorrow's AI job, and today's management job is tomorrow's entry-level job. And what I mean by that is the likelihood that you'll be managing an agent or a bot or some form of AI to do remedial entry-level data work or data entry work or analysis or surfacing some kind of insight or acquiring and structuring information. That's what's happening in the short term. And so as we start thinking about the kinds of jobs that a white collar worker would have had straight out of school, those are the kinds of jobs that are getting disrupted the fastest. Anything where it's you're taking some niche knowledge in your mind and you're applying that to some data and surfacing an insight, that's where you're seeing a lot of the initial disruption. So one of the things that I look for when I'm speaking to people about this is if you were to think about your application of AI inside your business as essentially an intern or a team of interns, what kind of work would you potentially trust to an intern that didn't know anything about your business but was pretty capable? And to start breaking down, well, if I'm looking at what my business is doing and I'm thinking about how can I bring AI into it, you can start looking for the kinds of work that might fit into those categories and thinking about what that means for the people who are doing the work now and for the people who might not be doing the work tomorrow. So that's a potential place to start wrapping your head, because while the tech, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, before you change the thought on that, I think that one point that I'd want to make, and even reflecting off of Eliza, if it being our responsibility, and that we need to think about that, because the jobs are going to change, but the responsibility is to the people. And when she's talking about these billion-dollar companies that could operate with just 2 people, even when you're talking about that your students graduating into the workforce and the likelihood of them working with an agent, it even in saying it that way, it is fragmented of how might we approach this where there are still teams working with an agent and they're using their collective intelligence to collaborate with whatever agent that they're working with. And that's where I think about it with responsibility to not jobs, but people, because the jobs themselves, it's going to me, I mean, I don't think that none of us know what's going to happen. No one knows, but we do know jobs are going to change. Like I mean, it's going to change. And, we always talk, head count is always something that always thinking about how we can cut costs, and immediately goes to head count. And when even Daniel, you're reflecting off the entry level job to the manager job, that those keep getting taken away. It's also so what can they do? Like how might we transform those jobs and think about even going back to the efficiency and productivity? Efficiency and productivity is going to come through learning and innovation and being creative and having time to do those things. And it's just a matter of, do you want to be isolated with your AI agents, or do you want to still have people to have that collective intelligence to riff off the different agents that you may be building internally?
And I would add to that none of this is new, right? I mean, AI is the topic, right? We're on an AI panel, but none of this is new, right? Automations have been coming. These entry-level jobs have been changing for a long time as we get new tool sets. So none of this is new. The conversations actually sound very similar to what they did in the 90s when we have the internet coming in and we have each of these new waves of technologies. What I would like to see us talk about some as a society, as a global society, is the value of efficiency really the value that we care about? Kind of to Lisa's point, Silicon Valley, like I think we all kind of know that Silicon Valley, which is driving a lot of these technologies, the value there is efficiency. Do it better, do it faster, like be more efficient. Like that's the value. Having been in Silicon Valley for decades, I can assure you that that is one of the top things that we talk about all the time is how do we do this more efficiently, faster, better, right? Break things faster. Is that the value that we want socially? And Lisa brought up policy. I think that's so important because socially, that's how we influence how this technology gets used. So what are the values that we want kind of institutionalized, may be too strong a word, but what is it that we want to bring? At what point is there job loss? Is there like how we bring people up, like Daniel's talking about? How do we educate? All of these things are social conversations that we want to have. The technology is there. It's been evolving for decades. But I'd love to question overall if efficiency is the value that we want to continue to lean into here.
Well, let me, Lisa, you might be speaking. It's on mute.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it's such an important question because I have thought about that, Chris. You know, if efficiency gets so good and we, in effect, save a lot of time as human beings because machines are doing more of the work for us or doing work in support of us, what will we do with that savings in time? Will we use that to do more of the things we love to do, spend the time with the people we love, enjoy the things that we like, or will it force us to just do more work?
Yeah,
right?
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Just like any other, I would argue that any other innovation that has made us more efficient, we found ourselves doing more work to the point where it is impacting not just our well-being, but our children's well-being. So I worry about that, you know, while all these benefits are supposed to make us better human beings, that it might actually propel us to become almost like machines. Right? And it's such an important question. I actually did a LinkedIn survey asking people that question about 6 months ago. And about 80% of the people said that they would love to do more of the things they enjoy, spend time with their families, things of that nature. But if AI allows us to become more efficient, you can see that, you know, services and products might decrease in cost. So price might decrease because there's automation. But there's also an implication on wages. Wages could also go down. So if price goes down, wages go down, will we have enough money to do the things that we want to do? Or will we just get more jobs, spend more time at work? You know, our system, especially in the United States, like it's like more. So I worry about the choices that we will make as human beings. And once you're in the bubble, it's hard to get out of that bubble. It's like you're on the treadmill. You're just going to keep doing what everybody else is doing. So I'm interested to hear what others have to say about that.
I think something that's come to mind for me personally, not just AI, but technology as a whole, devices, the whole shebang, is it's kind of like when there's a new chocolate in the market. This is just a metaphor, just an example, you know, and everybody's going crazy for it and they're eating it. And then suddenly somebody says, wait a minute, it's giving you heart disease. And then we're like, okay, no, we have to self-regulate. We have to make sure that we enjoy chocolate, but we limit it. And I'm feeling the same way about technology. It's like, well, I've put a timer on my Instagram, automatically switch it off after a certain time each day, because I'm like, it's addictive, you know, and I've got to self-regulate. I can't, you know, nobody else is going to tell me that spending too much time on social media is bad for my mental health or just a pure waste of time. But once you get on those cat reels, I tell you, it's very hard to get off. But the point I'm trying to make is, in a very simple way, is that there needs to be regulation, but we also, I think we're going to have to just use common sense as humanity and self-regulate. Like, we don't eat too much, you know, bad food, and we don't spend too much time on Instagram. You know, otherwise we will, like you said, Lisa, we're going to just spin out of control and just get busy, because it's freeing up our time to do more stuff. And so that's one of the things that I'm certainly challenged with personally, and I'm trying to, you know, encourage my children as well. And then the other thing as well is to not forget to use our brain and our creativity. I love dabbling with code, and I love figuring out, you know, I could spend hours looking for a missing dot or a comma and be happy as a pig in mud, but not anymore, because I can just chuck it in ChatGPT and it solves the problem for me. And I realized I stopped enjoying the problem-solving journey. I just got the answer quicker, but I didn't, you know, and so my brain wasn't engaging. So I found myself doing this more and more until one day I said, no, without ChatGPT, try and solve this Excel formula, you know, and just do it for the sake of doing it like you used to. And so there's all these sorts of things that bother me as well. Just looking at us as human beings, the time thing, definitely, and then also the brain, exercising our brain and creativity. I think for a lot of basic users, I know that you guys are the more technical side, you're using your brain to create AI, which is great. But some people are like me, would just say, I can get the answer quicker in ChatGPT. Let's just quickly get the answer. And we're not valuing the process anymore. And I think we could be crashing some of our creativity.
Yeah, that's such an interesting reflection, and I'm so glad you shared it, because what immediately came through as you were sharing it is, what if there's a bigger problem to solve? And that's how you are exercising your brain. That it doesn't need to be editing the document, you know, to look for grammatical errors. I saw recently on LinkedIn that you posted that you took up painting. And
Yes.
that is, I mean, the mechanics of using that, you know, the hand-eye coordination, learning the different brush strokes. I mean, that is a form of problem solving, strategy, and creativity that your brain is getting, you know, what it needs, like to exercise those areas. And that's even, you know, just thinking that something like GPT can solve the problems that you were originally seeking faster. And so it opens up this just line of questioning coming from the place of curiosity and both humility of what else might I explore now that I don't need to be doing these more repetitive tasks, and what's it going to open up for me, and what's it going to open up to the people around me, that they could, you know, explore other possibilities that they may not have been able to do because they were bogged down by looking for that extra comma or period, just to use an example.
But I still think it boils down to choice, because I had to choose to take the time out to take up painting because I was busy all the time. I just get busier and busier. And it was a real choice of, no, I need to do something that's not work. And so that's, you know, that's why I did it. But I agree with you as well. There's some things that we just don't need to be bogged down with. And if we can get the answer faster, why not? Daniel, I think twice now you've wanted to say something, and I've...
Oh, that's okay.
Gone ahead.
I wanted to throw three quick points into the pot. The first is, I one time spoke at a conference for CFOs and controllers, and I got to the end of it, and the CFO came up to me and she said, "All this is great, but I still don't understand how this is going to help me." Talking about AI. She's like, if I'm trying to find time in my day and I got a stack of 50 receipts on my desk and I don't want to put these in, how is AI going to help me? AI can't help me do that. I said, absolutely, I can. You can just take a picture of all 50 receipts and bam, they're in your system. And just connecting the dot of, oh, that's what you mean when you say you can put time back in your day. If you're the CFO and you've got to spend your time typing 50 receipts into the system and you don't have to do that anymore, that's time back in your day. And that's the kind of meaningless work that nobody really wants to do that we
Or
should
need
be
to.
automating, right? Nobody
Yeah.
really wants to put 50 receipts in the system. But on the flip side, you look at the recent GitHub survey, and 80% or developers that were surveyed said they're 80% more productive than they used to be. And once upon a time, I worked at a large lean company and I had 13 developers. And I can tell you right now, if they had gotten 80% faster, we would have let 80% of them go. It would have been totally out of my control. And so that type of role is going to sandbag all day long. Oh, no, I'm not getting faster. This doesn't work. Because if you have a culture that penalizes people for being better at their job and pushing more and more work on them as a result, that's going to drive the wrong kind of effect. And then the last point I want to make really fast, and I'll stop, is in my classes, half my class is lecture, half of it is lab, and the student is there to execute the workflows in Gen AI that we just talked through. And I tell them, as soon as you're done, you can go. And some of the students are done in 2 minutes and they are gone. And some of them stick around for 30 or 40 minutes and really drive it home. And the point is that with Gen AI, you can do the exact same workflow in 2 minutes or 40 minutes. And it all comes down to, what do you want to get out of it? And it's really made that point clear because they're all on the same level. They're all in the same class. They're all the same basic experience. But some people will just hit the button and call it done. And other people will sit there and really work with it. And the reason why I wanted to call these 3 points out is because as business leaders, thinking about our staff and our companies and our teams, like some of this is up to you to think about, how do you want to enforce this and what does this mean and what kind of culture do you want? And then some of it obviously is up to the individual. But if you're thinking about, how do I integrate this into my company, there's a lot of different ways this comes across. And depending on where you're sitting in the company and what you value, it could be a very different experience.
Yeah, Daniel, I think it's such a critical point. And I think in the world of AI, technology actually is less of a challenge. The bigger challenge is human beings. It's a change management challenge, right? It's a mindset and a mindset and behavioral shift. Because if you think about it, you go into ChatGPT, the console is literally very basic. There's a conversation box and then a few conversational starters, right? So it almost looks like a search engine, or it looks like a fancy search tool where you type in a few things and then out comes an answer. But it's a mindset shift to go from, oh, it's a fancy search engine to, oh, I can actually use this as a thought partner. I can give it some ideas and have it tell me what's wrong with it. What are the pros and cons of my ideas? Give me a 360-degree analysis of my thoughts. How might others perceive this idea? And banter with me, right? You can use it as a thought partner. The second thing is, you can use it to help you create content, all sorts of content. A lot of people do that. They start there actually, right? They create blogs, create images, those types of things. Automation, that's yet another area where, AI can help. And you can't get to the leap of automation by looking at ChatGPT's conversation box. That's a hard leap, right? The fourth aspect of this is around data analysis and research. Again, going from a conversation box to data analysis and research is a hard leap as well. And then last but not least, AI being, us being able to use it for personalization, personalizing ads or emails or communications, like those 5 things, from content creation, using it as a thought partner, automation, data analysis and research, and then finally personalization. It's a mindset shift, and everyone, CEO all the way to frontline workers, need to get their hands on this thing to even understand what's possible. By simply inferring that it might just be a fancy search engine or a question answer machine won't give us the full potential of what AI is capable of.
That's what I kind of love about it. Like I brought up the things I wish we were talking about, but I'm already a fan of the things I love about it, Lisa. So when I think about how great of an equalizer it can be, I'm hearing stories. I've got a girlfriend in Denver who is using this to help people who don't speak English as their primary language get funding. They're entrepreneurs. language was a barrier for them, and they're able to use these GPTs to even that playing field. And I know educators that are using this to help students who are neurodiverse. I get goosebumps about these kinds of cases because these are the same populations that could be affected by the jobs as we were just talking about, and potential job losses or at least job changes. But today there are such great equalizing factors if we think beyond just kind of the obvious of I'm going to do some social media tweets or some blogs, which, you know, like you said, is where we start. But the fact that we were able to use this as such a great equalizer, or that startups have an equal playing field to some of the giants, that the fact that we can do so much more, we can do more analysis, we can produce more content if that's what we need to. We can create our own doppelgangers, right? There's so much cool stuff that can equalize that playing field. That's where I get really excited about the possibilities.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I just agreed. I don't have anything else to add.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say the education piece, to me, I just see right now more pros. You know, and you mentioned the neurodiverse, and that's the big one. I mean, I could talk about that for hours in general, but it's just the opportunity of what if, you know, in the academia of rethinking how education is served to students and the opportunity to personalize it based on, you know, at the highest level, like, you know, neurotypical versus neurodivergence and what type of neurodivergence. You know, for me, I thought that I was dumb for years because I didn't do well in school. And I was told that I was just average and I wouldn't get far. I didn't know I was neurodivergent until I was in my early 30s. And to think about that, I needed a different path to learn and different types of support, and that I wasn't getting any of that throughout all my years in school. And the possibility that that can change for kids, for young adults, for teenagers is really exciting. There is, but when you do start thinking about the diversity and inclusion piece of it, though, and bias, I mean, we got to know that that exists, and we got to know that if curriculum is going to get hyper personalized, is, you know, we have to think about the bias that's going into that curriculum as well. And it opens up it can open up a can of worms, but I get the goosebumps too of the possibility, to me outweighs it. And I would love to see more opportunity of whether you're neurodivergent or neurotypical, or, you know, there's other challenges, but to have the opportunity to level it out, and that we can present different material in different ways to adapt to different learning styles. It's important at both education and also within organizations, because that doesn't change as you enter the workforce. You're still neurodivergent. You still, you know, need to maybe consume information different and talk with people different, and will get caught up to speed on the product and the business and everything different. And to be able to adapt to those different learning styles, I'm really excited to see how that unfolds.
I'd love to pile on what Lisa said on different learning styles, and to just make this a little bit more tangible for our audience, and how to apply AI. So as entrepreneurs and leaders and business owners, you know, one of the newest technologies or newest developments in AI is from Google, and it's called Notebook LM. With Notebook LM, you can essentially upload a PDF. Let's just say it's, you know, it's a PDF of your thought leadership. It's a white paper of some sort, maybe a newsletter. You can even just give it a link to whatever thought leadership piece that you have. And it can create almost within, you know, less than 5 minutes, an AI podcast based on that newsletter, where you have two AI hosts having a conversation in almost a very natural human way. Like they are using analogies. They are talking about that thought leadership piece in a very relatable way. They are talking about pop culture, using pop culture to explain things. Sometimes they're talking over each other. They're chuckling. So it sounds very human, sounds very natural. I was actually really amazed by this. But the reason I'm sharing this, to Lisa's point, we all learn differently. Our audiences and our customers learn differently. So rather than just thinking about producing written content out there, you may want to take that written content and produce an audio version of it for those people like me. I'm an auditory learner. I prefer not to read because I'm very slow. I'm a slow reader, right? It's always been that way. And then people ask me questions like, wow, that was awesome. Glad that we can now turn something into a podcast. It is AI generated with 2 AI hosts, not human hosts. How do we ensure responsible use, right? So anything that we do, human oversight is going to be really important. Got to review that AI podcast, review it for bias, review it for inaccuracies, hallucinations. And I think, at least at this point, we need to be super transparent that this is AI generated, that these people, quote unquote, are AI hosts, and that we are using AI to deliver information more quickly in a more timely manner and to have a more diverse platform for learning, something like that. So we're acknowledging that this is AI rather than saying that it isn't when it is. So that's just one real tangible use case for business leaders, business owners to think about how you might use AI from a content creation perspective.
That's so true. It's so good.
Something you said, and it was mentioned earlier as well, about the idea of reasoning and artificial intelligence. And one thing that really is a kind of a soapbox of mine is calling out that LLMs, large language models, ChatGPT, anything that's deep learning based is not reasoning. It's predicting. It's not intelligent. It's guessing. It's giving you an answer based on everything it's seen before. And I think when we're talking about leveraging artificial intelligence like LLMs to do things for us, if we're talking about LLMs and neural networks and deep learning and these types of things, which is in the mainstream today, it's very important to recognize that they are only predicting based on what they have seen before. And you may or may not have control over what they've seen before. And when you start leaning on the LLM to do the reasoning or do the thinking for you, that's where you start having a lot of the problems. So in the example Lisa's giving about Notebook LM, where you're providing the content and it's just helping you communicate the content that you're providing, you have a lot more control over the perspective that's being shared because it's your content that you shared. But if you're leaning on the LLM to just generate something for you, like you're just giving a simple prompt and saying, write my blog or whatever the case, this is where you get into a lot of the gray area of, what actually went into how that was produced and where is there a lot of quote unquote danger in the material being wrong or being biased or so on. So I like calling that out particularly because in recent news with ChatGPT and their recent release of the Strawberry model, they talk about it as a reasoning model, but it's very important to call out that LLMs cannot reason. All they did was change the steps in which it executes to mimic the reasoning. And it's just important to know that when you're thinking about what LLMs can do.
I think it's such an important call out, but I do want to say that this is the least capable AI that we will see moving forward. So we need to stay on top of the technology because it will improve, and people are saying that it will get to human level abilities or beyond. But there is no human court of law today that says that we can blame things on AI and that we're not accountable. Regardless of what happens, we are ultimately accountable for the output and impact of AI. So human oversight and our responsibility to deliver what's right, according to human beings, we're accountable for all of that.
You mean when the GPS tells us to drive into the lake, that's our fault? Are you sure? That doesn't.
Exactly, a little bit of common sense. So I think we should take this conversation in one of two directions. Either let's talk about the business case. If for a small business, a lot of this might be an interesting conversation, but what has that got to do with me? Okay, we could go down that route. Or the original question, we could take it down the route of in 5 years, what do you think we should have been thinking about? Whoever goes first can pick the direction. They're totally different directions.
I like the direction of what do we do now, right? Like as business leaders, to make this more tangible for us. One of you said that, it's a skill leveler, it levels the playing field. And I still believe that, right? Because, we can now be in the same conversation as some of our biggest competitors because we now have the power of AI on our side, but we need to use it responsibly. I already gave the example of Notebook LM, another good example. If you have customer reviews, whether it's in Google reviews or any customer review site in the B2B world, you got G2, Capterra, where there's lots of people chiming in and giving you positive, neutral, or negative reviews. Download all that information, right? Upload it into your favorite large language model AI of choice, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, you name it. And based on those customer reviews of your business, ask it, what are the top 3 key value propositions that are resonating with my market? Those reviews are indicative of what your customers love and don't love about you. So what are those top things that they talk about my business? And see if you can get some quantifiable insights based on what they're saying. And by the way, tell the AI, use their language. Don't make up the language. Use whatever language they're using. The other thing that you could do with those customer reviews, infer from these customer reviews the top 3 areas where I can improve. What are they most complaining about? And then based on those areas of weaknesses, that should be an indication for your business how you might overcome those weaknesses, or in your messaging, how do you respond to those very challenging questions? So I think there's a lot to be said for using customer language, customer feedback that it's already publicly available. There's nothing proprietary or sensitive about that data that you can then use to inform your messaging and how your business should be positioned in the market.
Wow,
I'd love to
that's
take
really good
I'd love to
idea.
take that a step further. Let's say that you're a reader and you read books, and you have a book in the back of your mind that you like to reference for how you plan your strategy, or how you think about positioning, or how you think about a business plan or something like that. Or somebody referred a book to you and says, hey, here's a great book for thinking about your business strategy. Well, one thing you can do to take that up a level is you can take a copy of that book and give it to the LLM and say, in the context of these reviews, in the context of this book, how should I think about X? And
Wow.
it'll write your positioning, or write your business plan, or write your thing through the lens of that book. And the reason why that matters is because if you think about a thing a certain way, maybe you use EOS, for example, or maybe you read the book Traction, or maybe you read the book Obviously Awesome, or one of these books, or the Challenger Sales Method, and you just think that way. If you have a copy of the ebook, and you have all of this information like your reviews, and you want to extract from that and build your positioning, or build your sales methodology, or build whatever you want, using something that you're already familiar with as a way to kind of hone that material can really supercharge your ability to do those things. So maybe you don't have a marketing background, but you have a book that your friend recommended to you that you trust, or maybe there's an author that you appreciate, or a blog that you follow, and you want to lens all this material through that. It can be a huge game changer. And you can do the same thing with things like contract review, or smart goal writing, or a lean business model canvas, or whatever those things might be, to really allow you to do a lot more through the lens of some material that you trust.
Yeah, and
Yes.
I read Lisa's post about this, like, I must have been 6 months ago, and I've used it for competitive analysis as well. So going not just at the reviews for my clients, but the reviews for my clients' competitors, to see what's working, what's not working, to then do a comparison of where my client is against the competition. And if there are certain things that we haven't thought about, okay, let's start to build that in, or start to address those entities. And if there are places where the competitors are weak, well, that's a great thing. If I'm a salesperson, gosh, that's a great thing to know, is that, there's a lot of complaints about a particular feature or service that's being offered, and that's all easily available through G2 and these other systems that Lisa mentioned.
I think another thing that we've used.
Sorry, go ahead.
Which I'll just be quick. Something that we've used it for that's been really useful is grant applications. So we put in our business plan, we put in the grant application, and then we ask, in the language of UK Smart Grant or whatever, what should we be saying to this answer? And then we put it back in and we say, so what does this answer score against the grant application question? And then what can we do to improve the score? And just using it, like chatting with ChatGPT, but just, going through that whole process, I think it's made our grant application so much better. Like you said a while ago, as a thinking partner, just throw these things around, and wow, I don't think I could ever have managed all the grant applications that we submit, without that. So, yeah. Sorry, you were about to say something.
I was just going to add on to what everyone else has been saying. One thing that I continuously see be a very good thing to do is to put your knowledge base together. And so much of it, when adopting the technology, is looking at, I call it brand foundations, but looking at your personas, looking at your positioning, your vision, mission, values, the benefits of what you're going to market with. But if you haven't documented and have a single source of truth for your business yet, now is a great time to put that together and use the knowledge bases that are available in these tools, and to also enable your team. It's, when you're talking about from sales to marketing to customer success, of things getting lost in the shuffle, a lot of it goes back to not having those foundations in place. And when we're starting to train these agents, or we're looking for an outcome, it still goes into those fundamental questions of what problem am I trying to solve? What am I trying to do? And, what outcome am I looking to achieve? And there may still be unknowns, but having that source of truth that you can iterate on as you use AI, as you use Gen AI as a collaborator to build off of. And that's it. And you can build one for yourself too, to get to know, what your writing style is. It really, those inputs matter so much. If Daniel talking about, if there's a book you really identify with, or there's 5 books you identify with, and aligning it with your style guide and aligning it with your company's source of truth of, where you are in the market and what your competitive positioning is, like all of that feeds into whatever that outcome is that you want to achieve. And the saying that we use AI, or we want to adopt AI, or we don't know how, like we don't know where to start, there is going to be a lift up front. It is not going to be I bought this tool and now all my problems are solved. And I think that that's something that all of us need to remind ourselves, that there will be a time lift, and the value of that input, of investing that time, I've seen it to be worth it. But it's not just we bought this tool and now I need my team to go use it, because there needs to be room for adoption and enablement and learning, because it's so much of this is all going to be centered around learning and relearning and new things coming out, that we got to learn new skills. Like that seems to be the change. The only constant is change, and us needing to constantly learn new skills is, I think, going to be a thing is going to be indefinite, and just continuing to lock in and anchor on that, but keep your source of truth updated as you go. It's going to help you as this continues to evolve.
Well, and like everything, right? It's good data, bad data in, bad data out, right? So data is every bit as important as it ever has been. And then I want to expand a little bit of being curious is one of the top skills that we need to be teaching our kids as we educate, that we need to be having our employees embracing, and that we ourselves as leaders in our communities and our businesses to be curious and to keep learning about this stuff. I love that, Lisa.
I'd love to know from each of you your top favorite AI tool at the moment.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, because this is perfect because it goes back to what are you trying to do in this moment?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's been finding my voice. I am neurodivergent, if that hasn't already been clear. And it's a mix of ADHD and extreme social anxiety. And getting it out of my head and translating it to words has always been a problem for me in order to delegate. But partnering with Claude or GPT, I just prefer Claude, but to help find my voice and ripping it apart, like putting in an idea of this me and it coming back and reflecting on like, I hate everything about that and here's why, but seeing it written down of it trying to translate what I'm saying and then it puts something together and I'm like, here's everything that's wrong with that. That has gotten me further and a lot faster than a lot of other tools up until this point in my life. So I've been hanging out with Claude, but you really just got to think about what you're going after in the moment because there's so many. Looking for an AI tool is like going to the App Store and say, I need an app.
Exactly.
That's how I right? Like in what? So yeah.
But it sounds like it's been a real game changer for you, and you know that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thanks for those links, Lisa. So there's your top 3 AI tools are in there. Do you want to talk through what your favorite one quickly?
Yeah, just really quick. Well, I have top 3 and they can read why. It's Claude, ChatGPT, both paid versions, and then Perplexity.
Okay. Okay, but you've got the link there, so we can also have a read, which is fantastic. Chris, what's yours?
So my daily tool is ChatGPT. That's my best buddy right now. Motion AI, it helps me with my calendaring because I have multiple clients, multiple volunteering opportunities. So managing my calendar is completely done with Motion AI. And then my newest love that I'm playing with is I'm trying to start to create my own doppelganger because, you know, one of me is not enough. I want 2 of me. And I'm playing with both HeyGen and, well, I'm doing Descript, HeyGen, and there's another one out there that I'm playing with, seeing how the voices are. So that's my new favorite toy.
That sounds really fun. I'm going to look into that. And Daniel, how about yours?
I have to go a bit more technical. I am really into Microsoft's AutoGen framework and team-based agentic workflows. And I built one that writes my own programs for me. So I have a bot that writes my own bots. And so the more you stack your own bots on your own bots, the more you can do. And I have it integrated with my ClickUp project management system. So I can execute tasks off the back of my ClickUp project management.
That's nuts.
All automatically. And mind you, I'm not a developer by trade. I learned all this through ChatGPT. So AutoGen is the framework. It's open source from Microsoft, and it's pretty cool.
Okay, well, but you get really deep into the technical side of things, don't you? You like that.
Yeah, that's me.
Every time I've heard one of your talks, I've had to like, oh, I need a degree in this. Whatever Daniel say, you're just like, you really do know your stuff. Well, I think that was the perfect end. So, you know, we've covered everything and how we need to change the world. And I would love to chat more about the environmental impacts one day. But for now, I think we've chatted enough. Our time's up. We spent a lovely hour together. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed you all bringing your different perspectives in. Nobody was brave enough to ask questions, so that's on them. But what I'll do is I'll do a follow-up email to everyone booked in, everyone watching the Facebook group with your LinkedIn, and then people can get in touch with you directly if they want to chat more. So thank you for joining us, everyone, and thank you so much to our experts. It's been fantastic to chat with you.
Thanks for having us. Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
Bye.